On this episode of Roadkill's Junkyard Gold, we're back at L&L Classic Auto in Wendell, Idaho, digging up Chevys and Mopars for work and play. I'm Steve Mignonti, hot rod historian, author, and lover of all things cars. I travel all across the country to uncover the forgotten and hidden gems of the automotive world. And now, I'm on the hunt for the next Roadkill Junkyard Rescue project. This is Roadkill's Junkyard Gold. With over 10,000 classic cars on 160 acres, we had to come back to L&L Classic Auto. On the last episode, we saw cars from both sides of the law, speeders and chasers. Since starting this yard back in 1967, Larry, the owner, has amassed an amazing collection of vintage cars. On this episode, we'll be on the lookout for Chevys and Mopars built for work and play. On my last pass through this yard, I caught glimpses of what looked to be a Tri-5 Chevy workhorse, a Hemi-powered people mover with room for 8, a playful Plymouth, and a mid-sized Chevy with the heart of a Corvette. I'll also be on the lookout for a Roadkill Rescue that blends both work and play. Let's get started. Cool 1978 Dodge Magnum. Richard Petty ran one of these things in NASCAR. 400 cubic inches, probably in this one. Yeah, I love those plastic retractable headlight doors. It's cool. Oh, 1957 Chevy, two-door wagon. Now, you don't want to confuse this one with Chevrolet's Nomad, which was their Motorama dream car come to life. Now, 1957 was the final of the 3 years of what we call the Tri-5 Chevy. This is the worker bee, the base model, the 150. This one here is what you would have bought if you wanted the cheapest 57 Chevy wagon you could find. And again, this one is a two-door, which makes it really special. But all 57 Chevys had baby Cadillac styling, from the hooded headlamps to the floating bar to the extruded grille to the gun sight hood ornaments. Basically, what Chevrolet gave you in 57 was a Cadillac style for 1/3 of the price. Now, on this one here, we see something very new for 1957, which is the absence of the cowl vents. It's smooth here, but where did the air come from to go inside the cabin? Well, right here. The passenger side front fender over the headlamp is this grille area, and this feeds air into a duct, which then goes into the heater and then passes into the car. The idea here was to get rid of the busy look of the cowl vents and also to lower the height of the cowl about 1.5 inches versus 1956. Okay, all right. If you think you hate it now, wait till you drive it. Big news for 1957 was the 283 V8. That engine was available with a 2-barrel, a 4-barrel, or even a ramjet mechanical fuel injection unit. This one here, I can see that it's a 6-cylinder car because the remnants of the pancake-style air cleaner are still here. So this would have been the Blue Flame 6. Not a lot of power, but again, as a worker station wagon, you didn't really need the big V8. Now, 1957 was a big year for transmissions in Chevrolet, but there's some controversy. 1957 marked the first year of the availability of the Borg-Warner T10 4-speed transmission. Now, I've had guys try to fight me tooth and nail saying that that 4-speed was available on all Chevys, including the 150. Not true, only in Corvette. But what we see here is the pedal and the 3-speed shift on the column, which would have been the base transmission. Those things usually got loose and sloppy, so folks would convert it to a floor shift, and we see here a flame-cut hole. The main supplier on those floor shift conversions was Hurst, the same company that later in the 1960s would supply 4-speed shifters to Roadrunners and GTOs, but it all started right here with conversion kits for Tri-5 Chevys. To differentiate the entry-level 150 from the mid-range 210 and the top-of-the-pile Bel Air, Chevrolet gave these unique side trim. The 210 and the Bel Air would have a much more ornate flourish with a stainless steel insert. At the back of the car, tailgate comes down as it does on any other Chevy wagon, giving you 6 feet of depth and 3.5 feet of cargo. Plenty of room for any kind of work you might have to do. But the 150 has one unique detail you won't find on 210s or Bel Airs. In this location, you would see a lens with a bulb behind it. That's your backup light. Here, that is blocked off with a stainless steel block-off plate. Let the world know you're kind of frugal and didn't want to spend the extra bucks on the reverse light, which was an option. Now, the greenhouse on this is similar to the Nomad, but not identical. The Nomad would be lower, would have a fluted roof, but regardless, any 57 Chevy two-door station wagon is gold with collectors and hot rodders. There's a lot you can do with these cars. And thanks to Roadkill, less than perfect paint and bodywork are not a problem. This car would be perfect with a Roadster Shop chassis, tubular front suspension, huge Willwood brakes all the way around, a Curry 9-inch rear axle, and under the hood, an LS1 engine backed up by a 4L80 overdrive automatic. Then, this car would be ready for cruising, a little bit of racing, or some work. No matter what, it'd be a blast. It's been scientifically proven that the first thing people notice about a car is its color. The second thing is the wheels. Here's a little roundup, get it? Roundup of the history of wheels. This is a wooden wheel, which was seen on some of the earliest cars. It's kind of a hybrid, steel hoop, wooden spokes. But that was the rule, because most automobile manufacturers grew out of wagon manufacturers where they had wooden wheels. Wire wheels like this replaced them. They were cheap, effective, but as cars got heavier, not so good. In the 60s, one of the biggest growth areas of the aftermarket was mag wheels. Manufacturers started to offer wheels like these. They'd sell them, and people would bolt them onto their cars after the purchase. Well, Detroit caught on to that and started offering their own styled steel wheels. This is a 67 Z28 wheel. This is the Chevy Rally wheel used from 67 right on into the 1980s. Dodge, they kind of did it the cheap way. It looks like a mag wheel, got the lug nuts, sort of a magnesium texture, really an elaborate effect, but again, it's a snap-on wheel cover. At the very bottom of the barrel, well, companies actually offered things like this, like J.C. Whitney, for maybe 10 bucks a pair. You'd snap this onto your steel wheel, and I guess your car looked cooler. Not to me. High cab Chevrolet truck. These quite often have 348W motors for power, single 4-barrel only. And look at this, wow. This is a 1952 Chrysler Crown Imperial limousine. This is one of the biggest cars on the planet, 25 feet long, 145-inch wheelbase. Now, usually these things are black, plush vinyl and leather tops, chrome wheels. Hollywood stars own these things, Lucille Ball and people like that. But the difference is, this one here is olive drab green. This thing is probably an Army staff car. This is a worker bee version of the Crown Imperial. The V on the front of the hood tells us this is a Hemi car. Make that was a Hemi car. This would have had a 331 cubic inch firepower V8 in its second year for 1952. It would have had a single 2-barrel carburetor, single exhaust system, and 180 horsepower. Enough to move this thing around, but top speed on this thing would have been about 90 miles an hour. But still, it was a better engine than the Flathead 8 that these things used in 1950. It would still be about 3-4 years before it grew into the dual quad horsepower maker in the Chrysler 300. And I don't see air conditioning, power steering. I don't see really any accessories, just a heater. This is a very austere car. And I think I even see a 3-speed manual transmission. Being a limousine, it's amazing to me this thing doesn't have an automatic. I mean, limousines were expensive, they were opulent, but not fleet cars. As a civilian limousine, this would have had Chrysler's 2-speed Power Flight automatic with 2 pedals, no clutch, and a different shifter here and an indicator up here to say what range it was in. Here's the AM radio, factory stuff right there, the temperature control for the heater unit. I do see power windows, and the brake pedal is connected to something very, very special. We'll get to that in a second. But first, let's check out the back seat. This is where the Imperial's 145-inch wheelbase pays off. Look at all the legroom for the backseat passengers. You can sprawl out and be totally comfortable. The little details in this thing are really cool. Little ropes here to hang on to getting in and out. Here's a clock for the rear seat passengers to see what time it is. Courtesy lights everywhere. Controls for the power windows. And today you can buy a Chrysler minivan with something called stow and go seats. Well, it was nothing new. Check this out. These are the jump seats and allow an extra 2 people to ride along, bringing a capacity from 6 to 8 in total. Empty, these cars weigh 5,900 pounds, but fully loaded with 8 people on board, you can get close to 4 tons. These cars required very special brakes. If you ask the average car enthusiast who offered the first 4-wheel disc brakes on a mass-produced American car, they'll say 65 Stingray, right? Not so fast. From 1949 through 54, Chrysler offered the Osco-Lambert safety brake. Inside this cast iron housing is a stationary rotor. When the driver hit the brake pedal, Hydraulic pistons would work a series of ramps and balls, which would then wedge the shoes onto the stationary rotor, stopping the car. You got 30% more lining area than Chrysler's 12-inch drum brake, and maximum braking came with 75 pounds exerted on the pedal versus 120 pounds with the drum brakes. These brakes were big news when they came out. In fact, the May 1955 issue of MotorTrend magazine has a one-page feature on the Osco-Lambert safety brake. Now, the back seat on this is actually wider than a standard Imperial, and that was done by modifying the inner wheel houses, and that required a special rear axle. This is 69 inches wide flange to flange, which is a foot wider than standard. So when these cars come down the road with the Osco-Lambert brakes, you can tell because the rear wheels are about 6 inches farther apart than the front wheels. As much as I would love to restore this 52 Chrysler Crown Imperial limo back to original condition, there's no money in that. There's some kind of a stigma around former military vehicles, but because it has four-wheel disc brakes, it's super special. I think I would give it a Roadkill caliber restoration, get it cosmetically back to square one, and then I'd get the brakes up to snuff, and I'd find a 331 Hemi 3-speed manual transmission, get it running again, and then I would take it out to Corvette shows, park it next to 65 Stingrays, and remind those guys their cars were not the first ones with four-wheel disc brakes. It was the 49 through 54 Chrysler with Osco-Lambert safety brakes. Full-size trucks, believe it or not, these things got 409s for a couple of years. Actually, into 1966, the 409 was available in the big 60 series Chevy truck. It's not there now, but you could get it. Studebaker pickup truck, worker vehicle for sure. Some parts shared with the Lark passenger car. All right, 1971 Satellite. No, hang on. Okay, I see the remains of the sticker and the punched holes for the Roadrunner graphic. This is a 71 Plymouth Roadrunner, or at least what's left of it. 71 was a brand new body style for Roadrunner. A car that takes its name after a Saturday morning cartoon character has got to be fun, and that's what Roadrunners are all about. The big hole we see right here tells us this car was originally built with the pistol grip 4-speed transmission, which was a $206 option over the 3-speed manual, which was standard in the Roadrunner. The pistol grip is one of the coolest shift handles in the business, made by Hurst. Chrome lever with a simulated wooden handle up on the top, and found in all Plymouth and Dodge 4-speed muscle cars from 70 all the way through 1974. The great thing about Roadrunner going all the way back to 1968 is that they gave you the best brakes in the business. While GM muscle cars came with a 9.5-inch drum brake in the back, and Ford muscle cars came with a 10-inch drum brake in the back, Mopar and Roadrunner gave you a big 11 by 2.5-inch drum, biggest in the business and straight out of the police car parts bin. Up front, an equally large 11 by 3-inch drum brake was standard equipment. Now, there was an 11-inch disc brake possible on the front of Roadrunner, and when you saw that, the rear drum shrank to 10-inch diameter for better brake balance. Now, something we don't see on this car that most people associate with 71 Roadrunners is the roof strobe stripe. There were actually 7 different trim packages available on Roadrunner. This one has the most subtle of them all. Half vinyl top, no strobe stripe at all, a very small Roadrunner sticker, and a logo right here. But on the trunk, we should see a little bit of plumage in the form of a Roadrunner sticker. Okay, there's the remains of it. It's kind of burned out, faded. And this one does have the tail blackout treatment. We see around the tail lamps, this black paint treatment is correct. It also continues down on the valance panel below the bumper, over the rear exhaust pipes. But what makes the Roadrunner so much fun is at the other end, under the hood. Well, here's the base 383 4-barrel engine, which for 1971 dropped from 335 to 300 horsepower, thanks to a slight decrease in compression from 10 to 9 to 1. That's okay. You still make 425 foot-pounds of torque. Some things I see on this one are the H51 air conditioning system. This was a $383 52-cent upcharge, not cheap. Here's the AVS 4-barrel carburetor, which allowed that 383 to make full power. And I like this right here. This is the purple beep beep horn. This is something you'd see on all Roadrunners from 1968 through about 1975. It had aluminum windings inside versus copper, which is why it went meep meep instead of a deeper tone of a normal automobile horn. And the orange paint on this is something you see for the final time in 1971. All Mopar engines went to light blue for 1972 and on. So again, the aggressive, high-performance vibe of the orange engine seen here for the last time. Now, the great thing about Roadrunner is that you can go to the VIN and within a second determine if it's real or not. Here's how. We look at the first 2 digits. If it says RM, it's a Roadrunner. The fifth spot, we see the letter N telling us this is a 383 four-barrel, the base engine. If we saw the letter R, this would be a 426 Hemi, V, 446 pack, or H for the 340 small block. Now, if this were a Hemi or a six-pack car, it would not be here in the first place. But as a 383 car, I hate to say it, even with the four-speed, this car is just too far gone to do anything with. You spend at least $80,000, $90,000 to get a $40,000 result. So I think I would do exactly what Larry Harms, the yard owner, has done, and let this beep beep continue to sleep sleep. Yeah, 53 Plymouth Savoy, two-door post, 49 four-door Plymouth, flathead sixes, no V8s in Plymouth until 1955. Oh, very cool. A 65 Chevelle. Chevrolet advertising said that the Chevelle was a car that was ideal for cruising the highway or exploring country roads. Said nothing about work, but this one has a 327 fender emblem, which tells us it's very special. Now, keep in mind, the Chevelle was available with a six-cylinder, the 283, or that 327. Now, the thing is, the 327 was available in three forms, one with 250 horse, one with 300, and the big dog, the L79, with 350 horsepower. That same engine was available in the Corvette. That L79 came with 202 cylinder heads, a pretty wild hydraulic cam, and a Holley four-barrel carburetor. Unlike Ford, Chrysler, and American Motors, Chevrolet trim tags and VIN tags do not tell you exactly which engine came on the car. To learn that, you have to add up clues. So what I'm seeing here is a large diameter 3/8 piece. To fuel that big Holley four-barrel, the L79 came with a 3/8 fuel line. So we might well have found an L79 giant killer 65 Malibu SS. I also see on the frame right there the little bracket. That bracket is for the clutch bell crank. This could be a manual transmission car. Okay, I was afraid I was going to see a 3 on the column, which was possible with those 327 engines, but this one here is the 4 on the floor, and this is the original 4-speed hump with the rolled lip right there. This would have had a Muncie shifter handle coming out of here. That was a $184 option. Now, being a Super Sport, it would have had bucket seats, a center console, and the Super Sport markings were continued outside the car, where they started with lower rocker chrome trim, and at the back of the car, Malibu SS markings at the rear quarter panels. Around the trunk, we have this nice blacked out treatment right here, kind of a sinister vibe, and a Malibu SS logo here at the right rear corner of the trunk. Now, one mistake you don't want to make is calling every Chevelle a Malibu. They're not all the same. The Malibu is a sub-series at the very top of the Chevelle lineup. It's the most expensive style. At the bottom was the 300. These are always identifiable by the formal roof, a fixed B-pillar, a permanent door frame, and inside, bench seats, rubber floor mats, and on this bare bones economy job, no radio. That's the radio delete plate. Somebody would die for that piece right there. So remember, not every Chevelle is a Malibu. A lot of them were 300s. Getting back to our Malibu SS, if the clues are correct, and it is what it seems to be, an actual L79 frame, it makes it pretty rare. Only 6,021 were built in 1965. And with that 350 horsepower, 327, if your GTO doesn't have tri-power, this thing might well stomp it. So I think part of me says to restore it. The other part says take it and do a pro touring car out of it. I get a Schwartz chassis, tubular front suspension, massive alloy wheels, big sticky tires, 9-inch rear axle, and I think I'd go with a 650 horsepower LT4 Chevy Performance Corvette crate engine. Put it all together, and I think it'd be a blast to drive. So either way, restored or pro touring, this would be a lot of fun. Ford offered the first rear-wheel drive commercial van in the United States in 1962 with the Econoline, or the Falcon. Chevrolet and Dodge followed in '64, but this is something I've never seen. Ordinarily, any kind of a van like this will have two doors on the curbside. You open them and unload your cargo or load your people or whatever it is. I've never seen a Chevy van with no door on the right-hand side. Let's look deeper. Yeah, and there's no door on that side either. This speaks to the fact that Chevrolet would build your van any way you wanted it, including with outside doors. Now, the only thing they wouldn't do is build you a van with no doors at all. This van does have the normal rear entry doors at the back, Chevrolet offered these vans between 64 and 70. This one is a first gen with the flat windshield. These were made between 64 and 66. For 67, Chevy went with a rounded windshield through 1970. And finally, V8 power could be had from 67 on up. I love this yard. I've seen things here I've never seen before. Cool 1951 Dodge Coronet with the Gyromatic fluid drive. 2 more years, the Hemi was possible here. 1951 Chevrolet, Blue Flame 6 Power Glide automatic. 49 Dodge. There's the Ram hood ornament. Oh, this is cool. An El Camino SS. This is the ultimate marriage of work and play. And here we see the SS. That's the factory emblem right there. El Camino's, of course, the original Ute. You can load up the back with anything you want, but yet with the Super Sport package, you get plenty of power under the hood. Now, the engine emblems for 75, they went away. They would have been here in 73 and 4, but no more. I'm gonna try and open the hood, see what engine we got here. I don't want to bust this thing. Well, that's stuck. Let's go to the VIN. This would have had any of the Chevy V8s, the 307, the 350, the 400 small block, the 402, or the 454 big block. We go to the VIN, 5th spot to you. This is a 402 barrel car, which says 185 horsepower. That's plenty of torque, plenty of power. This would have been a lot of fun. Here's the 15 by 7-inch rally wheel that was used on all Super Sports going all the way back to the 1960s. This is the classic wheel of all time for Chevy people. Yeah, pretty wild. We see here on the right-hand side of the dashboard a microscopic Super Sport logo, and that's part of the factory SS package. And keep in mind, 1975 was the epitome of the smog 70s. Nobody was touting high performance, so that's why that badge is so small, almost hides in plain sight. I do see this one is a column automatic car, the Turbo 400 under the floor, but check this out. There's a console in here, which is part of the Super Sport package. Well, there's a double block-off plate here, which is what Chevrolet added when you didn't have a shifter on the floor. This is basically a great example of afterthought engineering. Now, as a Super Sport, it does have mechanical gauges here instead of idiot lights, but to the left of the steering wheel is not a tachometer, but rather a vacuum gauge. That's a fuel efficiency minder. That's a gauge there that tells you to get better fuel economy, and that was, again, a sign of the times. With a 402 barrel, you'd be lucky to get 18 miles to the gallon. And keep in mind, 1975 was one of those years where we had a gas crisis. Another detail we see are these very cool swivel seats. Check this out. And these were available in midsize Chevrolets from 73 through 77, although 1959 through 61, Chrysler had them first. 1975 was the final year for the Super Sport and the first year for the catalytic converter, which would be right under the feet of the passenger here. And of the 33,620 El Caminos built in 1975, 3,251 were Super Sports. And of them, 400 cubic inch cars, maybe a couple hundred. This is very rare, but it's a great combination of play, the 400, and work with the cargo capacity of the El Camino. I'm a fan of all factory muscle cars, no matter how mild or wild. And as a factory Super Sport from 1975, this shows that Chevrolet was at least in there swinging during the darkest days of the smog 70s. I'd love to see one of our viewers come on out here to L&L Classic Auto, take this car, give it a roadkill-style rescue, but leave the patina. This is hard-earned faded paint. Get the 400 running again, do the brakes, do the cooling system, and then hit the road with this thing. You could drive this to work during the week and then go out and lay rubber with it all weekend long. It's the best combination of work and play. This yard is a true gem. Larry's done a fantastic job of gathering together all these amazing collector cars. And I can't believe we found that 52 Chrysler Crown Imperial with its Hemi, room for 8, and those Osco Lambert disc brakes. We saw how that 1957 Chevy 150 Series wagon was born as a workhorse. Getting back to Detroit's playful side, we examined that 65 Chevelle Malibu SS and its bare-bone cousins, the Chevelle 300. And how cool was that 71 Plymouth Roadrunner when unfortunately there wasn't enough left of it to do anything with. Every corner I turn in this yard, I find something unique. Who knows, maybe in another season of this show, we'll come back here. But in the meantime, if there's a junkyard near you, get out there and explore it. You never know what kind of gold you'll find. Thanks for watching this episode of Roadkill's Junkyard Gold. Until next time, hasta mañana. The cargo loads from the back. To set the cargo loads from the back, to establish the 150 cargo loads from the back, to establish the 150s, hang on. cargo loads from the back.